Hello everyone, my name is Katie and I am the Introverted Reader, and today is my December wrap-up, last video of 2020. Happy New Year if you're watching this tomorrow. I hope that you all have a safe and happy new year, and I said this on Twitter, but let's get our shit together in 2021, shall we? Because I'm tired. So anyway, let's wrap up December, shall we? Now, if you remember, I got my sister to pick out the books for me that I would read this month, and some mixed feelings on some of them. So in the end, I read 3 physical books, 2 ebooks, and listened to 1 full audiobook. But sorry, I'm just looking at my bullet journal. I finished 1 audiobook all the way through, but one that I am still listening to is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Although I'm happy to say I have passed the 600-page mark. I have this much left. I didn't think that I would get that far, but listening to the audiobook on double the speed really helps. I'll say it's a little bit slow at the beginning because there's all this like build up and it's all very political and there's a whole lot of characters. But in essence, it's just basically about these 2 sort of neighbouring kingdoms that are sort of breaking on the verge of war with each other, and there's like dragons and magic and political conspiracies, and it's a whole thing. But at the end of January, which is like the start of January is tomorrow, like, oh my gosh, right, okay. I'm still listening to this and I'll give you my thoughts on it at the end of January, but let's get on to the books that I completed. Now, the first book that I completed was Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. This was our December book club pick of the month for the Introverted Reader book club, and I adored this. I adored this so much. It's set in Italy. It's about these 2 twin sisters who are witches, and one of them ends up dead in very mysterious circumstances, and basically the other sister kind of has to piece together the circumstances surrounding her sister's murder and her sister's death, and she finds out things about her sister along the way, and also she gains the help of a prince of hell. She intended to summon just a regular demon, but she summons him instead, and oh, the tension, the tension between them. And like, I'm so excited for the next book in this series. I don't know how many books there's gonna be, but I'm so excited. And 5 out of 5 stars for Kingdom of the Wicked. The next book that I read was on my Kindle, and it was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Now, obviously this came out a good couple of years ago, and I did read it way back in 2014, 15, whenever it came out. But I never continued on with the series, and I always wanted to, but I couldn't remember anything that happened in the first book. So this is a reread for me. And I gave it 3 stars the first time I read it, and I still stand by that rating. It's set in this world where they're divided by blood type, right? So if your blood is silver, you are top of the chain. And if your blood is just normal, if you're just a red-blooded human, then you're basically bottom of the barrel digging for scraps in the mud. And our main character is a red, but then one day she is shown to summon electricity from her fingers, something that only a silver is able to do, and everybody's like, oh wait, here, hold on, you're a red, you're not supposed to be doing that. So it's kind of just like her being brought into the world of the silvers and trying to navigate her way through, and yeah, it was good. Really predictable and tropey because it came out in 2015, but I still enjoyed it, and I am going to continue on with the series. I have Glass Sword, which is the sequel, on my Kindle, so I'll tell you more about that at the end of January. So actually, now that I have my Kindle, okay, so the next book that my sister picked out for me was this, okay, Red Queen by Christina Henry. Now, this is actually a sequel to a book called Alice by Christina Henry, but I don't own Alice. I like looked all through my bookshelves and I was like, I don't think I own a physical copy of it. Like, I must have unhauled it at some point. So I ended up reading Alice instead on my Kindle. And this is a story about our girl Alice, and she is in a mental hospital with no memory as to how she got there or who she is and anything like that. And it kind of just goes from there, but heavy trigger warnings, people, for rape and sexual assault. And there were several scenes in this that were just far too triggering for me, and I had to genuinely put it down and distract myself for a couple of minutes because it just got too much at some point. Like, this is dark. This is really, really dark. And I'm not saying that to be dramatic, and I'm not saying that to be funny. Like, I'm genuinely like, this is dark. And if you are heavily triggered by those things, do not read this. And just with all those themes in mind, and as well, the plot just moved way too quickly for me. Like, things just worked out like way too quick for Alice. There was no big battle or climax at the end. Like, it was very disappointing, to be honest. So with those things in mind, and the fact that I didn't even like even by the end of it, I was like, what? So I don't think I'm gonna read this, which is a bit sad because I kind of wanted to, but again, with all the sexual assault things in mind, and just, yeah, I'll never be able to watch Alice in Wonderland again for some time. But Alice, I gave 3 stars, and I don't think I'm gonna read this because it got too much. So the next book that my sister picked out for me was Reckless by Cornelia Funke. This is the first book in the Reckless trilogy. It's called The Petrified Flesh, and basically this is about 2 brothers, Will and Jacob. And whenever Jacob was 12 years old, he found this magical land behind a mirror, and every day for about 12 years, he would go behind this mirror and go on adventures and treasure hunts and whatever. And it's all this like it's this really magical, fantastical place. And he goes on adventures with a shapeshifter called Fox. She can shapeshift into a fox, obviously, but one day his brother Will ends up going through the mirror, and he ends up cursed, and he's slowly turning to stone. So it's kind of like this sort of race against time to save Jacob and get them back home. Now, overall, reading the pretense of that, I thought this was a middle grade because I didn't realize that they were fully grown, because it kind of jumped 12 years into the future, and they're like in their early 20s. And I thought the world was fascinating because there's this race of people called the Goyle, and they're like basically like gargoyles, and they're all like different types of like stone or whatever, and that's what Will is slowly turning into. But overall, I did find it a little bit boring at times. I wasn't really connecting with anything within the plot or the characters or anything. They felt a little bit flat for me. But I mean, I don't know. If you've read this and you've read the whole trilogy and it's good, let me know. But all in all, I gave it 3 stars. This is the first Cornelia Funke book that I've ever read, and I know she wrote the Inkspell trilogy, and I understand that's like a classic within the children's literature world. So if you have read the Inkspell trilogy and you think I'll enjoy that, let me know. But all in all, this got 3 out of 5 stars from me. The next book that my sister picked out for me was a massive, massive disappointment. And it's When the Curtain Falls by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I DNF'd this. I got 121 pages into it, and it was bad. It was bad. Point blank, it was bad. The characters were absolutely infuriating, and the plot was, I was just like, my eyes hurt from my eyeballs rolling around so much because these characters were insufferable. Now, I do follow Carrie Hope Fletcher here on YouTube and on Instagram and stuff, and I have actually met her at a book signing. But if I'm being honest, after this, I don't think her books are for me anymore. I will still continue to support her with like music and theatre and stuff like that. And obviously here on YouTube, I'll support her in that way. But as far as her book goes, no. Like, again, characters are absolutely infuriating. And I could go into detail if you want. If you want me to do a rant review on this, let me know, because I've got things to say. But all in all, characters were infuriating, and I had thought maybe the murder mystery part of this would keep me in it, because it's supposed to be set between two different timelines, but literally the murder mystery was just like pushed onto the back burner, and it was literally just all about these two characters fighting each other and falling in love and being horrendously insecure and annoying and full of shit. So yeah, this is that was a DNF for me, Simon. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, the audiobook that I completed this month was Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness. Now, if you don't know, Jonathan Van Ness is a member of the Fab Five from Netflix's Queer Eye, which is literally my favorite TV show of all time. I absolutely love it. And this is like his little memoir. He sort of talks about like his life and everything that went on in there, and it's really, it touched my heart. It really, really touched my heart because Jonathan has been through a lot. And at the beginning of the book, it says, while this book has hilarious fun moments, it also discusses tough issues. While there aren't graphic details, if you're a survivor of sexual abuse or struggling with addiction, please utilize the resources in the back of this book. So there's a trigger warning at the beginning for addiction and sexual assault, and Jonathan has left a list of like resources and websites and phone numbers at the back of the book. So if any of you do read it and anything triggers you or anything like that, there are resources at the back for you to look into. But it's basically just all about him growing up in a little small town in Chicago, Illinois. And just like, you know, how he grew up and how he was bullied relentlessly for a really, really long time, and then finding joy in cheerleading and in just like being his normal flamboyant little self. And he talks about his grandmother who passed away, and he talks about his stepfather who passed away, and like you really, really felt his pain. And if I didn't think I loved Jonathan before, I love Jonathan even more now because this is wonderful. I don't really know how to rate memoirs. I suppose that I'll give her a 4, I guess, out of 5. But yeah, if you're a fan of Queer Eye and you haven't read Jonathan's book yet, I highly, highly recommend that you do. And the very last book that my sister picked out for me that I read this month, that I rated a full 5 out of 5, was Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nyan. This is a story set in a world where every year, I think it's like 8 girls are chosen. Hold on, let me see. 8 beautiful girls are chosen, right? And they're basically chosen to be the king's concubines. They're not chosen to be brought in to give him like children or anything. He has a queen for that. They're basically just brought in to satisfy him sexually, you know, whenever he calls for them. But this time, instead of 8 girls, a 9th girl, our main girl, Lee, is brought in because she has these beautiful golden eyes, and the king heard of her beauty and he's all like, I want that. So she's brought in, and and again, trigger warnings for sexual assault and rape, and the author has put that at the beginning. She said, please be aware this book contains scenes of violence and sexual assault, and it was very, very hard to read those scenes. But all in all, this is a beautiful story because it is a sapphic romance, if you're not aware. Our girl ends up falling in love with one of the other paper girls, and like their relationship is so beautiful. Like I love them both so much. And like just this whole world, just like all these girls, like you feel for every single one of the girls. You really, really do. Like your heart goes out to every single one of them. And like the ending of this really, really got me. And I'm going to be reading the second one in January, like literally as soon as the sunlight hits me tomorrow. We're reading Girls of Storm and Shadow. Had to look up the title there, but like 5 out of 5 for this. This is absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, those are all the books that I read in December. I hope you had a good reading month in December. I managed to hit my goal of reading 100 books, so I'm really, really proud of myself for that. Again, I hope you all had a good Christmas or holiday season or just good week in general. I hope you all are responsible tonight and don't be inviting loads of people around to your house because we can't be doing this again this time next year, okay? I'm tired. So yes, stay safe and wear your damn mask, okay? And wash your damn hands, you sinners. So anyway, with that said, Instagram, Twitter, down below as always. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be Tuesday, and we'll be in the new year. How weird is that? Anyway, bye.